So the FA launched their initiative for this weekend across the 32 games. All of them will kick off a minute later. It's all part of Heads Up. And it's a serious look, not just about taking a minute to discuss it, but there's also proactive ways that you can tackle it, ways that you can go and have a look at an action plan and see whether they can help you there. Paul, it's particularly significant and poignant for you because today marks a whole year that you have been sober.
Yeah.
Tell us how that year has been and what led you to make that decision.
Oh, it's been 100 times better. Probably sitting in a room with tablets and a bottle of vodka. But that was probably the decision I made after that. It was like, do I want to keep on feeling this way? And I didn't want to keep on feeling this way. And I just got fed up with being fed up, if I'm being honest. And I rung up an helpline. And thank God I've been sober for a year since. And I've learnt to talk to people, you know, because when you get into this, and it's an illness. You know, I used to think I was a bad person. You know, I'd drink a lot and I'd gamble a lot and I'd think, and I didn't want to, and I kept on doing it, and I kept on ending back at the same place, and I was thinking, oh my God, this can't be right. I'm not that bad a person. And when I found out it was an illness, and I had an illness, and I talk to people now, and I talk to friends, and when I do feel down, I talk to people. I don't look at my phone anymore. I don't watch my phone ring and go, I'm not talking to them today. I don't want to talk to that person. And I make sure I pick that phone up. I mean, this is so important. I have a lot of respect for people, and people have to understand they're not bad people. And that's the thing that people beat themselves up about and they don't talk. And I think that's the most important thing is to talk. You have to talk. But it's no good this being Mental Health Awareness Week. This is life. This should be every day. You know, the watched two programmes in England are probably EastEnders and Coronation Street. These should have adverts during the programme and after. This should be as normal as getting up in the morning and cleaning your teeth, that people get to talk to each other. You know, not like now and then all of a sudden next week it's all forgotten. This is life. I mean, some of the figures we were talking about upstairs sent me sideways. I just couldn't believe it. I really couldn't believe it. Some
of these figures that you're speaking about, Paul, in men under 45, the single biggest killer is suicide. There's roughly 18 deaths per day. That's on average. We could go on and on. There are some really scary ones, quite in schools, 200 school kids each year. This is in schools that we're talking about. That's about 4 a week. It's frightening, and it's you wonder whether enough is being done. The FA are taking a stance, and they're showing that within football you can talk about it and you can try and make a change. Like Paul said, do we need to be doing more all year round? Jamie, you've been there as well. Tell us about some of your experiences while you were playing the game.
Yeah, I mean, I went through a terrible time. You know, I was at Wolves, I was injured, I was out the side, and at that time, the stigma in sort of being down and depressed, you didn't want to talk about it. You didn't want to go into the dressing room, and you didn't want to feel weak because it was seen as a weakness. You know, and you think players would jump on it, the manager wouldn't pick you. So you kept it quiet, you kept it yourself, you didn't speak to anyone, and in the end it gets on top of you and it takes over your whole life. I got to the point where I'd had enough of football. You know, I wanted it out. I just wanted to be away from it because mentally I was drained from it. Mentally, I really struggled. So, I ended up getting help with the FA, Sporting Chance, started having counsellor sessions and started to talk about it, started to feel better. For me now, I went through that bit where you had to talk about it and had to move on and really get on top of my problems. I've gone the other way now where I like to do all the positive stuff, something that I do now with a lot of my people. I do a lot of stuff with mental health, and for me it's a positive thing in terms of opening up and talking and not being afraid to talk. And we all have these problems, and it's not, if you pick up the phone and you're having a bad day, speak to your loved ones, ask your mate if he's all right, and speak to your players. I've got a couple of players at Billericay at the minute who are going through stuff like that, and as a manager now it's my responsibility to help them.
Can you spot it, Jamie, because you've been through it? Because people aren't always very willing. That can be the hardest part, isn't it, opening up and talking? So can you spot it in your dressing room, in your players?
I think the biggest thing for me with it is body language. You can see in someone's body language that they're not right. And if you work with people day to day and you see their personalities and you get to know someone and all of a sudden you're watching them over a week and they're a different person and they're being quiet and they're not talking, that's when you need to ask the question, are you okay? Because we all have bad weeks. We all have bad times and you feel down about something, but when it's over a certain period of time, You know, ask that person if they're right. For me, there's certain triggers for me where, if I feel down and I don't feel right, I'll go to my triggers and, think about the visualisation stuff that I do and visualise your goals that I've set for 2020. I had a great year last year, but you have to set new goals and new targets and keep progressing and keep trying to do great things, in football, in media, because I went through a period where I was out of football and I didn't have a journey and I didn't have a plan. And that's when you start things getting on top of you. So, you set a plan, set a goal, and keep striving towards it. It's not a sprint, it's a marathon. These things take day to day, and you keep doing it, you keep progressing, and in the end, you start realising the visualisations start happening, and it becomes a reality, and your positive things and the positive outcomes, they start happening for you.
Clinton, sometimes you can assume that people are okay from the outside because they project a certain persona, or they're always happy, they're always in a good mood, and you're one of those people that I look at and I don't think I've ever seen you in a bad mood, but were there times in your career where you experienced it, or people around you experienced it?
Oh, most definitely. Yeah, I am one of these, everyone will know, I'm just a happy guy. But when I finished football, I was in a dark place, but I never ever spoke about it to anybody. I'd be in my house in the morning and I'd be watching the daytime TV. I wouldn't go out at all. I just wouldn't go out. Everyone's like, you're coming out. I was like, no, I didn't know what to do with myself. I missed the change room banter. I missed everything. I just shut myself off. I was just stuck in my house. And then that was it. And then eventually I was lucky enough to get into the media stuff, and then it just went from there. But my friend, Leon McKenzie, who tried to commit suicide, he tried to take his life. He's massive on it. He goes around to football clubs now. He goes and speaks to loads. He works with the FA. He works with the Premier League, speaking to young players. He tried to commit suicide, and he was lucky that someone found him, and it was massively. And I always check on him every day. That's all it takes, is for a phone call to ring someone and see how they are, because you do appreciate it massively. And he's doing great things at the moment. But it was really sad for someone who I played with, and I thought he was fine, hearing that a couple of days later he was in hospital and he tried to take his life, because he's a brilliant guy.
Paul, sometimes when you're talking about mental health, it's one thing for the person who is suffering with mental health to make that step to talk about it. What would you say to people around those people, so the people surrounding those suffering with mental health? Because sometimes it's not necessarily the stigma of it, it's just the fact that they don't know how to talk to somebody either, because they haven't got the experience and they don't know whether what they're saying is the right or wrong thing.
Yeah, I mean, I just think talking's the main thing. It's not being isolated. I think that's the thing. I mean, with addictions and things like that, what they try and... Addiction wants you on your own. Wants you on your own. It don't want you around people. It withdraws you from people, and it makes you want to sit on your own. Makes you want to sit indoors and not be around people. And that's the thing. It don't matter who you're talking to. People might not have the answers, but it's company and it's talking to people. And when you're talking to people, it takes your mind off things. You don't, when you sit in yourself, it's hard. It's hard. And honestly, for the kids, I just can't. I can't get my head around that. I mean, this is seriously something that needs to be looked at seriously, because, these are kids as well. I mean, for kids to go and do that, that's.
Just for me, or just on that, like if you are struggling, we talk about footballers and we talk about sports athletes, but it's everyone. Yeah, everyone's involved in this, and don't be afraid to think that if you're in an office or you're a postman and you can stand up and you can be, you can speak to people. My biggest thing for it is, don't suffer in silence. People are there. People will help you. Get on the phone, message us, message anyone. There are people there to help you, even if it's you go and talk to a complete stranger. But we will get back to you, and people are there to get back to you. Set a plan, get into a routine, even if it's just getting up in the morning, setting your alarm and getting up and making your bed and getting downstairs and having a coffee. Just do that routine, and then set new goals and set new routines. And before you know it, you're up, you're out, you're going to the gym, and you feel better about yourself.
I'd agree with that, because the people with my friend Leon, I check on him all the time in the week. Every morning or something like that, I'll just ring or text him during the week and say, how are you, mate? How are you getting on? He says, fine. Even Merce, I've only known Merce a short time. I'll message Merce, whether it's a bit of banter or anything, I'll always message him to see how he is and stuff like that. He'll take the mick out of me, but as long as he replies, I know he's all right. And sometimes it's just the little things like that could set him up and make him have a good day. He could be in a dark place, and that one message where I send him, whether it's banter or something, he always replies, so I know he's all right. And sometimes that is a good thing to do. There's people out there to help others, most definitely.
It's that idea, something that you said earlier on, Paul, about the fact that it's the shame almost, or the guilt that you think that what you're doing is wrong, or what you have is an illness that is shameful and you don't want to talk about it. But the idea of just breaking down that boundary and speaking to somebody about it, it humanises it, it makes it normal. Everybody else, look how many people around this table are now agreeing.
It takes the power out of it. A problem shared is a problem halved.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? And that's the thing. I mean, but it is with addictions, with anything, because with depression, it's something that there's been a problem inside, or whatever that was. So it's talking to people, and you're not an ill person. You're not you're sick. You need to get well, and that's it. You're not a bad person, and that's what you have to keep on telling yourself. You know, you're not a bad person. It's an illness. I have an illness. I have to alcohol. As soon as I have that one drink, I just don't know when I'm going to stop. I seriously don't know when I'm going to stop. If I had a nut allergy, I wouldn't take peanuts, would I? So why, and that's exactly the same with the drink.
What about now? So how has the dressing room changed? I mean, you're a manager, so you see what it's like in there. Is it a more accepting place? Is there more education? Is it better?
Oh, it's way better. I mean, that stigma is definitely, completely changed. Boys in our dressing room I've had a couple of boys come to me and speak to me and say, is he all right? He's a bit down, his body language is off, boys are out there to help each other, and we're all in this to help each other. And the biggest thing is you have to believe in yourself. Don't think that look at me. Take an example for me, let's be honest. I shouldn't be sitting here with Paul Merson and Clinton Morrison, but I kept believing in myself, kept doing great things and thinking, I can do that. I want to be on the TV. I want to be a football manager. I was out of it. I was gone. I was finished. And then I come back and kept believing it and kept doing it. And wherever that is, whatever job you're in, whatever walk of life, don't ever think you're not good enough, because you are. You are good enough, and there's people out there who will believe in you.
What about what's being done now? So we've touched on it as well. We know that the FA have this Heads Up campaign. We know that the EFL on the back of their shirts, they have Mind. They support that charity as well. It's very easy for me to ask this question, but none of us are doctors, but we have experience in it. What more could be done, do you think?
I ain't suffered like Merson and Jamie, so I think these two are the perfect people to go in and speak to people about it. I think they'd be perfect. As I said, my friend who suffers with it, he goes and speaks to the young players in the academies at all the clubs and goes tell them the life and what he went through and the struggles, Leo McKenzie, of what he went through trying to commit suicide, the dark places where he's in. I was only in a bit of a dark place, and I didn't lay it out because of the way I was as a character. I kept it in there. But people would always say to me, "Are you all right, Clinton?" And I'm saying, "Yeah, I'm all right," because that's just the image I was. But deep down, I was probably suffering a little bit, but not as bad as probably these two are. So they're totally different for me. So I think these two would be good. You need to go and get out there and talk to people about things like this.
There's an understanding as well with mental health now that it's as important as your physical health. And at any point, you could have a very healthy mind, and at any point that can all change completely. So the education is key as well as talking. Merce, do you think that when you were a player, had you had an influence, perhaps a more senior player like you guys are talking about now, or somebody ahead of you that was talking about it more, would it have helped you?
Yeah, you know what, because I was just listening to Jamie then, and I don't know how long ago I suffered with depression and my addictions, do you know what I mean? But when I look back now, I was a high-maintenance footballer. I was high maintenance. You ask all the managers I played for, they go, he's high maintenance, but he can play. He'll be all right on Saturday, but week to week. And I look back now and I think, how long's this been going on? Not just the addictions. I knew I drank too much, I gambled too much, and I took the wrong stuff, years ago. But not just that, it was the depression, going in myself and coming into training and sulking and not being able to get up to train and I don't mean getting up. I'd always turn up for work, but not having that enthusiasm. And I look back now, a lot of people don't know when they're depressed. They don't know. They just think they're tired. They just think, tired, it's just a lazy day.
Agree.
And it's not. It's depression, and it gets in. And some people get out of it in 2 days. Some people might be a week or 2 weeks. Some people don't get out of it for long times, and then they start not seeing out, and they start seeing how dark the tunnel is. And when Jamie was talking then, I was sitting there thinking, God, how long have I had this without knowing that I did have depression as well? Because I just thought it was my addictions, but looking back now, it was depression as well. For me, that's the biggest thing is education. If you're going to talk about and it passes as well. That's the most important thing. But that's only when you talk. When we talk, we know that, like, if I get into a bout now, I know it'll pass. If I do the right things, and as Jamie says, you have the right tools, it'll pass. But people who don't talk, they don't think it's going to... They think they're going to be like that forever and ever.
Yeah.
And they don't have to be. Sorry, Jamie.
No, it's fine, mate.
Jamie talks about an action plan or that works for him. You know, you almost said like a to-do list, right?
Yeah.
So something that you look forward to and tick off, even if it's something as small as getting up and making a cup of tea.
Yeah.
Is that the same sort of thing for you, Merson? Are there things that work for you?
Well, I go to meetings and I have a group of people around me that, like friends, good friends that ring me every day, and we talk all the time. And if someone rings and you don't answer the phone, they'll keep on ringing and ringing till you pick that phone up. You know, I think Clinton would know if he texts me and I never got back to him, if he texts again, he'd think there was something wrong, because I always text back. And I think, and that's what I do. I have a group of people that understand me and I understand them. And, you know, I don't hang around with people that don't understand. Do you know what I mean? And that's not being horrible. It's just, if you don't talk to the right people, you know, I'm around the right people.
Yeah. Listen, social media. You know, we're all on social media. You know, we all get this abuse. You look at it from time to time. We're all on TV. You know, Merce gets more than most of us. You know, but
that's why I don't read it. That's why I don't read it.
And you know, you've got to think about. You're not going to make it. You're not going to keep everyone happy. No. You know, there's always going to be someone who doesn't like you or will say this or say that. We're all human beings. We've all made mistakes. But at the end of the day, you've got to have the circle of people around you that you trust, who support you and who love you and who are there for you. Everyone else, let's be honest, are irrelevant. You know, because it's a small circle of people in your life who you can count on probably, you know, five fingers, and you say, them people are going to be there for me and they're going to help me through these things. And if they love you and they see in your support and they believe in you and you're driving for them and you've got that, you know, that goal in your mind with that, then you're going to be fine.
But it is hard, isn't it, Jane, when you look on the social media? I know Merce don't, and you are getting, like, you know, pelters and stuff like that.
Yeah, I know, but that's why I don't think people should read it. I mean,
I know you, but
something happened the other day at a ground, the Newcastle fans, with Robbie Savage. I've been in Robbie Savage a couple of times. I don't really know him personally, but when I've met him, nice bloke, really nice bloke. I think very misunderstood. I think he was a nice bloke. People can't do that. Cannot do that. Cannot do that. That was.
You're talking about the abuse from the crowd.
Unbelievable. You cannot do that. That is bordering on a joke. I mean, an absolute joke. This he's a good bloke. You know, people might perceive. Whenever I've been in his company, he's a nice bloke. You can't do that. If someone went into someone's work on Saturday and started singing in front of them, I mean, you know, and it just gets breezed off and it's a laugh and a joke. You know, that bloke would have, believe me, he would have been hurting. He would have been hurting.
I played with him. It affected him massively.
Of course it would have. Who wouldn't it? I don't care who you are. I don't care who you are. That would affect you in a way. And that's why I got Twitter. My boys go on it sometimes for me, but I can't go on it. I can't read people. If someone comes up to me in a supermarket next week and goes, Paul, I think you're terrible on telly. I think you're useless, this and that. I'll go, fair enough. It's exactly your opinion, not a problem. But don't sit behind a keyboard and slaughter me, and then when you see me in the supermarket, go, oh my God, I love you.
I used to react, you know. I used to react years ago and when I say something and argue back. Now you just got to think, just forget about it. Your keyboard.
They got to change the rules. They got to put everybody's name down and everything, because there's some good people on there. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
But what happened the other day was not nice. You know, that man's a human being, and that ain't good.
What could the clubs do now? So social media aside, that is an animal in itself, and I think we all agree it needs to be more regulated. Because also you see players, I mean, you see it this week, Jesse Lingard, for example, a list of what he's done in 2018, no goals, no assists, and it becomes a running joke, and it becomes a big stigma against an individual player. And you don't know how that individual player is feeling or how they might react to it. Jesse Lingard as well has come out quite publicly and said he struggled with the year. Just because they're footballers doesn't mean they're any more robust than any other human being.
It's like a human being.
So social media is one element of it. Jamie as well. But what could the clubs do personally? I know that some of them have psychologists that work with the teams as well. Does more of that need to happen?
It's an education for these young players. You know, Jesse Lingard is a young player, he's a great player. There's plenty of others like that who are going through and getting scrutiny from fans, from managers, not playing, not involved. And the key to not everyone's depressed, not everyone's, you know, got mental health issues, but what it is that what the clubs need to do is educate them on how to deal with certain situations, you know, and if you're having a tough time or you're out injured or things are not going your way, you know, how do you deal with that mentally? Because if you're not fit, you go to the gym, you know. If you're overweight, you go on a diet, you know. But if you're mentally not right and you don't deal with that problem, you're still going to be unhealthy. You have to deal with it.
So it needs to be
What
that
did you say
accessible.
how many about the kids in school? Because I've got kids, so I think more can be done at schools. Definitely. I've got 2 boys.
Yeah.
I've got 2 boys. Listen, I know they're all right when they come home and stuff like that, what I'm doing with them at home, but in school there's a big problem. There's
It's
all
over
sorts of
200.
stuff.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. That is a lot. That is a lot for kids. And we're talking about adults trying to deal with it. Imagine kids now trying to deal with it. So there needs to be more done to help everyone, not just adults, the kids as well in school.
The clubs need to get people in like Paul, like me, people that have been around it, people that have been through it, and then you get the experts that come alongside you. We can relate to footballers, you know, so we can go in, we can talk to these young lads, we can give them the tools, and we can say to them, look, we've been through this, I've been there, I've had the bin contract, I've been injured, I've been out the team, I've been cast aside, you know, this is how you deal with it, this is how it works for you, and if you might help 1 or 2 of them, just to give them little tools, visualisations to go and, you know, set a goal or what he wants to do this season or what his plan is for the rest of the week, and just give him little things like that. And then the experts will come alongside and help you. But the problem is a lot of people, you know, especially footballers, you know, we're all the same. You know, we have a laugh, we have a joke, we don't want to talk about it, but it's all right. You know, if you come in and you get people that you can relate to, then you can open up more. And that's where the clubs need to do that. Footballers don't want to talk to people they don't know and never seen before and never played the game. They want people to come and talk to that they can relate to and have been there and done it.
Well, I think that will certainly help a few people watching to hear you 3 talk about it. So, boys, thank you very much.